and it's 4 o'clock. So hey, welcome everybody to our Scaling Nordics to Asia session today. And today you will hear more about how Nordic Innovation House operates and works in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. My name is Sami Askilainen. I'm from Nordic Innovation House Singapore, and it's my great pleasure to warmly welcome you all to our session today. But let's jump to it and have a look at then our agenda today, which is fairly straightforward. So we're going to quickly say hi to you from our team sides, and then we're going to hear more about how Nordic Innovation House operates in Singapore. Then we move forward to Tokyo, then cover Hong Kong, and then at the end of the session we have that Q&A. This session today will be recorded and that will be shared with the decks, what you will see today. We have a Q&A at the end. But if you have any questions, please feel free to post those to the Q&A, and then we will pick the questions from there. We have received quite a lot of questions from some of you beforehand, and we try to cover all of these then today in our session. But maybe if our team, you want to quickly say hello, Bin, Niklas, and others, or guests before we start.
Yes, I can go next. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. This is Niklas from Tokyo. And yeah, looking forward to having a good session. And please don't hesitate to ask any questions you might have. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. This is Bin Johansson calling from Hong Kong. Looking forward to share the Hong Kong programs with you.
All right. Thank you. But let's jump to it then. And before we start going through the houses, I noticed that we have quite a lot of new guests. So maybe a couple of words about Nordic Innovation House in general and how do we operate in the different locations. So essentially what we are basically a community platform which accelerates and helps and supports high quality Nordic tech startups, scale-ups and growth companies in these different locations. And of course, one of the key ways how we're doing it is to help the companies to connect with the right ecosystem stakeholders in different cities. We are supported by the Nordic Innovation, and I would say that we're quite unique collaboration between the Nordic countries. And then besides our Asia houses, so Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo, we also have 2 other locations in the US, so Silicon Valley, which was actually our first house, and then followed by New York, and then those 3 houses in Asia. So it's really a global network, how we can help you, but of course, as always, our services are then tailored for the local needs to make sure that we are serving you in the right way in these different locations. But then I'll move forward to the Singapore, and I always feel that like in order to really understand Singapore, it's quite crucial to understand also what is the Singapore's role in the Southeast Asia region. Because Singapore really is that leading innovation hub, the springboard, and then the gateway to Southeast Asia and its 650 plus million consumers. There is always a lot of studies about Singapore and Southeast Asia, but if you need to pick one, I would highly recommend the Southeast Asia e-economy, which is done by Google, Temasek, and Bain. And that explains quite well how the whole Southeast Asia internet economy is booming and what's kind of like laying the ground for that massive growth, because the region was having a value of 100 billion USD in 2019, but it's forecasted to grow XXX by 2025. And then I'm going to move to Singapore, and as we all know, always the exploring the new markets, it's always a journey, right? And everything starts from that exploration phase. And this is also usually the phase when we start engaging with the different Nordic companies, when they want to gain more insights and knowledge to really understand the markets. And for example, our virtual market entry programs here in Singapore, what I will talk a little bit more later on, are basically a good avenue to gain that information and understand then the local ecosystem and the different stakeholders. If that goes well, obviously then the companies want to establish their presence usually here in Singapore. And in this phase, we can also support companies by connecting them to the right ecosystem stakeholders, different government agencies, investors, and also trusted service provider network, which can then help you when you need to incorporate, when you need to start hiring, when you need to place where to work and live, and take care of all the legal matters. And then usually in the case of Singapore, then the last step is when the companies start expanding beyond Singapore to the other markets in Southeast Asia. And usually this is the phase when the collaboration with the different Nordic TPOs or trade promotion offices becomes more important, because obviously they have a strong presence in the region in these different countries. But of course, I would say that usually the reason to come here is looked at scale and growth, and we have a good platform to support that. So we are focusing only on tech companies, and many times the conversation is around that what is the right time to come here, and we try to help the companies to understand what is actually required when you are ready. It's quite important that usually you have a commercially proven product or platform or service, and because you need to have something to scale here in Singapore and Southeast Asia, and really look at growth also then in Southeast Asia. Then the different services what we are providing for our members, of course, that network access is usually quite crucial, like I said, really helping you to find those right connections. We also have here in Singapore a mentorship pool. We have a good network of mentors covering multiple technologies and verticals and even functions. We also have an investor in residence here who can advise then you if fundraising is relevant for you in Singapore or Southeast Asia. Of course, the more comprehensive Nordic support then comes through the Nordic TPOs and different representatives here in Singapore and Southeast Asia. The community is always important, so we keep connecting you constantly to the relevant activities and events and other stakeholders here in Singapore. We operate here in a co-working space, so if the Nordic companies want to sit next to us, that's also possible here in Singapore. And then, of course, we always help companies to gain that visibility. So through either our channels, or then we can find you a relevant events, for example, where we can try to get you on the stage or different panels. Next, I want to talk a little bit about our programs here in Singapore. So in Singapore, again, our key focus areas for 2021 are circular economy, then med and health tech, and smart cities. And under all of these teams, we are doing quite a lot of different kind of activities, but I would say that the big ticket items are these virtual market entry programs. And our circular economy program is focusing on water waste and food waste related matters. And we're actually running it fairly quickly, so this will take place at the end of April. And it's a 2-week program for the Nordic companies. And it's really built on different problem statements. So we've been engaging a lot here in Singapore to identify who's doing what in these verticals and what kind of problem statements and challenge areas those are. And then we've been communicating these back to the Nordics so that then the companies understand well that what kind of solutions are really needed here. We also help them, the companies, to prepare. So there's at least 2 preparation webinars, and we also do one-to-one coaching for all the participants before then the program starts. And our first program week is usually focusing on those group meetings with the different partners. So you will meet corporates, policymakers, investors, network players, and so on from Singapore and Southeast Asia. And then the second week is more tailored, and time is dedicated for those one-to-one meetings. Especially in this waste area, the Southeast Asia aspect is quite important, because we acknowledge that majority of the biggest problems are actually outside of Singapore in the different markets in the region, but they are constantly looking at how Singapore is solving these big problems, and then what are the solutions what they can apply to their respective countries. All of our program packages always include that 12-month membership here in Singapore, and our application deadline is coming fairly quickly, so 15th of March. And so more details about the programs and the landscape and who you might meet can find from the link behind this link here. And talking about this program, we actually have a couple of very good sessions coming next week and week after that. So our program partner, UNDP and ADP Ventures, so we are doing a session with them on Wednesday, 3rd of March, and this is a very good avenue to hear that how do they operate and what kind of solutions they're looking for that might be applicable then for the developing markets in the region. And then our second partner info webinar is with the Sembcorp Industries. which is a big player in Singapore and Southeast Asia. And with them, we are focusing more on water waste related matters. Again, the links here, how to register. So highly recommend to join these to hear that what kind of opportunities there might be for your company. And before I move forward, I want to quickly just to cover this Singapore Green Plan, which was just recently launched, because it's a very ambitious and detailed initiative how Singapore will be more greener in the next 10 years. And this program is focusing on 5 key pillars that are city in the nature, sustainable living, energy reset, green economy, and resilient future. And it's a 15 minutes video, so I'm not playing it here, but you will get it with the deck, or it's quite easy also to find if you Google it. But it gives you the really good understanding where Singapore as a city-state is heading with all sustainability related matters. Then moving forward, our second program this year will be again focusing on health. So our Nordic Health program will take place in September, first 2 weeks of September. And the program concept is fairly similar that what we will do with our WWF program. So again, 2-week program focusing on problem statements and then group meetings, and after that one-to-one meetings. We will open the applications for this program in mid-March, so stay tuned and watch this space if you want to find out more than later on. And then our last program this year will be again focusing on smart cities, and this will take place in November. And program concept will be pretty much same. It's going to be on a virtual mode because we don't see that the travel restrictions in Singapore will be lifted before the year's end. So we are planning to run also this program virtually. And we will announce more details about the program and the concept then a little bit later on this year. And then what to expect for these programs. So last year we did 2. We did one in Nordic Health and one smart cities. And on our website and behind these links, there's quite a lot of material what to expect and what's going to actually happen during those weeks. But maybe to highlight that both programs connected hundreds of local expert decision makers and buyers with the Nordic companies who participated. And so it was a very well received concept and programs from the company participant side. Then I'm going to quickly cover, before I hand over to Niklas and Tokyo, different challenges, different innovation challenges here in Singapore, because these are always quite good concrete opportunities for the Nordic companies to start doing something concrete in the forms of the pilots or tests or whatnot with the local players. And the first one, what I want to cover today, is basically Southeast Asia Open Innovation Challenge. The submission deadline is coming fairly quickly, so 28th of February. So if you're keen, you need to act quite fast. But what makes this challenge quite unique, obviously it covers a lot of different verticals, as you can see from here, but it's also strongly connecting you with Asia's largest conglomerates to collaborate with the different startups in different verticals. Next one that I want to highlight today is focusing more on energy. So Free Electrons Global Energy Startup Program, the 5th edition is running, and the submission deadline is on 29th of March. And again, this is quite interesting program. So it's really focusing on connecting startups and scale-ups and core companies with the big industry players, covering multiple verticals under the energy sector. And they have a pretty nice prizes as well, so $200,000 for the winners. And again, more links more details behind the links. And then the annual Livability Challenge is still on here in Singapore. The application deadline is on 15th of April. Again, it's organized by Temasek and EcoBusiness, and this year they are focusing on decarbonization and reimagined resources. And as you can see here, they're basically looking for solutions that are applicable in urban environments and also tropics. And then they have some expectations regarding the technology readiness levels, but at least you need to have a proof of concept. And more details how to win up to $1 million Singapore dollar funding and other prizes again behind the link. And then the last challenge what I want to highlight today is basically with Alliance to End Plastic, which is also one of our program partners in our WWF virtual market entry program. And as the name says, they're really focusing on that plastic waste. And they just announced basically a request for a proposal focusing on chemical recycling technologies and different kind of business models. And the deadline for this application is 30th of April. And so those were all the key highlights from Singapore. And as always, how we operate in the different markets. So we do operate through the membership model. And in Singapore, the annual membership for the companies is 2,100 Singapore dollars, which is pretty much in par with the other locations. And roughly that translates to 1,500 euros per year. And our Nordic team here in Singapore is having people from Business Sweden, Innovation Norway, Business Iceland, and the Embassy of Finland. And of course, we also work very closely with the different embassies and ambassadors here in Singapore. And here are some of our partners who we work either with our different programs or different innovation challenges or on daily basis here in Singapore. So that's all from Singapore side. Our contact details are here, so mine and my colleague Jackie. And if you want to stay up to date with what's going on in Singapore, I highly recommend you to subscribe our monthly newsletter, which gives you a good overview of all the upcoming programs, different challenges, what are open here in Singapore, and also who are our members and our other activities here in Singapore. So that's it from my side. Thank you, everybody. And now I'm going to hand over to Niklas, who will cover then Tokyo. Niklas, over to you.
Thank you so much, Sami. A lot of very interesting initiatives going on in Singapore. So let me just start sharing my screen and we'll get to it. Here we go. So yes, my name is Niklas. I'm director here at Nordic Innovation House, Tokyo. We have been running now since May last year. And looking forward to sharing some of our updates and focus areas with you in today's presentation. But let me also start with some of the basics. I think we have a couple of new names in our audience. So just a few highlights from the Japanese landscape itself. Japan is the third largest economy in the world by GDP. The Tokyo metropolitan area is the largest one also in the world. And it's also very safe, a very stable country to operate in, and typically ranks in between 5 to 20 in terms of global competitiveness or innovation or startup ecosystem reports. And a few words about the startup ecosystem itself. It might be new to many in the audience from Japan. It is growing, is the main message. The numbers might still be humble compared to the States, for example, but we're seeing a very positive trend on a yearly growth. Main cities, Tokyo, of course, but there are also other major cities. Osaka is very much looking forward to World Expo 2025. Fukuoka in the southern part has been a front runner in attracting global startups to Japan, and also with the startup visa program and some other rising locations. And if we look at what are some of the fields the Japanese large corporates are looking for innovations, we typically discuss deep tech. So in Japan, connected cars, VR, AR, mobility, wearable, clean tech, and others are some of the very highly ranked in terms of what the corporates are looking for. And we're also very happy to see that investments from Japanese investors to Nordic startups have been growing and accelerating in the recent years, actually. So hence all of this information, Tokyo was selected as the 5th location for the Nordic Innovation Houses. But let me jump right into our focus areas for this year. We have 3 main focus areas, which are digital health, clean technologies, and then digital transformation. In terms of digital health, we are currently conducting a market study on the opportunities from Japan to Nordic companies. This is a study funded by Business Sweden and Innovation Norway. And it will lead into material towards the Nordic digital health companies in terms of what are the opportunities here in Japan. We see some similar challenges in terms of rising medical costs, aging population, lack of working force. Then there are also some peculiar challenges in Japan that we are seeing some movements around. So we need to dig a little bit deeper. It will take maybe around 8 weeks for us to finish this study. And we do look forward to sharing those results with you once they are available. On the clean tech side, Japan's new Prime Minister has declared that Japan will be carbon neutral by 2050. And this, of course, ripples down into multiple different fields. Here again, we are currently looking into what are the specifics that we would focus into. Energy carriers, energy transformation is one of the topics we've been discussing. Also carbon-related solutions, whether it's capture or emission reduction or utilization, are also something of quite interest to us. And the digital transformation, this is an overarching theme. This has been on the agenda in Japan for a long time, but we've truly seen some acceleration due to COVID. There has been some very interesting examples that have come to surface in Japan. For example, you have this personal seal in Japan that you use to stamp any official documents that is usually sealed at the company premises. But because of COVID, people were not allowed to go to the companies. So all of these issues have now come to rise. And the Prime Minister has taken quite a strong stance on really getting this DX on the move. But this is not something that we will be focusing only on this year. This is a long journey that is now accelerating, but whether it's 2022, 25, 30, this will be on our agenda for a while. But what this all means is that if you are a cluster company or a Nordic company within these 3 fields, we would love to hear from you. If you have any initiatives towards Japan, let us know and we can see if there are any synergies that we can find. Because at the current state where we are still going deeper into these fields and later down the line formulate programs that, for example, Sami mentioned in his presentation. But if you are focusing on any of these areas, I would love to hear from you. I put also a couple of key calendar events from Japan. Innovation Leaders Summit. This is Japan's largest open innovation event. It is actually happening next week and also the week after that. We have around 20 Nordic companies who will be participating. They will have one-to-one business matchmakings with Japanese corporates. It's going to be fully virtual this year. The House arranges a pre-ILS Nordic networking event. This is happening next Tuesday. Why I wanted to share this information with you is that the way this event works is on a nomination basis. So there is an advisory board that needs to nominate the companies who want to participate. Nordic Innovation House can do that, or the other Nordic trade promotion offices who are here in Japan can also do that. But not just for this year, but perhaps also already for next year, something to put in the calendars. And if you have any questions, would be happy to answer. And I put Olympics and Paralympics in brackets. I'm sure many of you in the audience have been following the discussions lately. And we have a placeholder in our calendar. We can jump into any interesting initiatives that we see. But at this point, we're not putting any major emphasis on these events because of the general atmosphere that we are feeling here in Japan at the moment. CTEC is Japan's largest IT and electronics exhibition. Format is still to be decided whether it can be done physically or virtually. Last year, our house was also part of it. And this year, we would also like to bring some companies to any interesting opportunities that come with it. Japan still has very strict entry restrictions going on. It will start vaccinations of elderly people in April. So we will see when business gets back to usual. Last year, CTEC was fully virtual. And then one thing that I also wanted to put on people's radar, already looking into next year, is Web Summit Tokyo 2022. This is a completely new event. So Web Summit will have a Japan edition. As part of it, we are keeping a very close eye on how it's going to look like, but likely that's going to be one of the highlights for next year within this tech startup IT field from Japan. So those were some of the calendar events that I wanted to share. Some of our upcoming events and accelerators open. I saw that we have some Japanese people also listening in, so I wanted to share information of this event that we are doing together with Tokai University about innovating with Nordics. This event is hybrid and it's going to be conducted in Japanese on March 12th. Feel free to register. And then another opportunity I wanted to highlight is the EU-Japan Center for Industrial Cooperation. They have a 2-week Get Ready for Japan online program. This is available for companies from EU and COSME countries. They have been running it, I think, since 1980s. But this time it's going to be fully virtual and it is free of charge. It's a 2 weeks program to get to know Japanese business culture, get to exchange business cards with Japanese corporate partners and others. So please do check it out if you are interested. Also on our website, you can see a whole bunch of other accelerators, incubation programs. None of the application periods are open at the moment, but typically they run on a yearly cycle. So if you're interested in these kinds of opportunities to do some POCs with Japanese partners or get that early feedback from the market and understanding of what are some of the typical things that Japanese partners are looking for, I would highlight that list that you can find from our website. Sami already very nicely actually summarized our membership model. So we work on a yearly membership. In Tokyo, we cover pretty much the same services as in Singapore. And if you have any questions regarding these, would be very happy to reply. And our membership fees are also aligned with the other houses. These are some of our partners. So since we started last May, we put quite a lot of effort into building our ecosystem here in Tokyo. So of course, we have Japanese partners as well as Nordic partners that we run our events and activities with. So as Sami mentioned, we are truly a community platform and here to help to basically hit the ground running and get connected to the right ecosystems. And our team in Tokyo consists of Business Sweden, Business Iceland, Innovation Norway, Business Finland, and the Embassy of Denmark. And besides myself, we also have our community manager, Akiko, helping us out. And those would be my updates from Tokyo. I will be handing it over to Bin next, and I believe I will also be controlling your slides. So please let me know once you want to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. This is Bin Johansson from Hong Kong. So the first slide will be the one that I'm going to show you how China looks like. Next, please. So when I heard people saying like, oh, we are going to China now. So I'm like, yes, China, but where, how, and when? So this is a photo that that my colleague from Business Sweden take out. So basically, I always show this one to let you know, to show that Europe, you can put the whole Europe in China and it will fit. That is how big China is. And as you can see, this is a GDP of each country, old numbers, but still quite valid today. So there you see there's 2 Spains in the China map. So the one under Mexico, that is the Jiangsu province, that is near Shanghai. So the whole Spain's GDP is it's in one province in China. And my Spain, that is the South China part, that is the Greater Bay Area that I work with. Next, please. So the Greater Bay Area, as Nicholas said, Tokyo Bay is very big, but according to one of the projections we have, the Greater Bay Area that comprises of the whole South China, the Guangdong province, plus Hong Kong and Macau, we will make up, the projection is in 2030, we will be the biggest Bay Area in the world. And with everything happening in the world right now, with the pandemic and everything else, I think maybe it's earlier than 2030. The matrices they are looking at is the GDP and the GDP growth rate, population and size. So the market population has always been, the Greater Bay Area has always been the biggest markets compared to the other areas. And size too, but the GDP, they are getting there. So the Greater Bay Area comprises of 9+2 cities, and the other 2 next please, is actually Hong Kong and Macau. So Hong Kong has always been an international financial hub, one of the biggest, always top 3. And this year, 2021, it's not an exception. With the new IPO frenzy that happened in the beginning of this year, with one of the world's biggest IPO, starting with Kuaishou, who was actually valued till over 155 billion US dollar. And this IPO was a little bit crazy. The IPO price was 115 and it went up to 345 on the closing day. So the financial market is one of Hong Kong's strongest suit, but this side also show that Hong Kong also take on the International Technology and Innovation Hub, because Shenzhen is a part, it's China's Silicon Valley, and Hong Kong as the gateway into China will be a big player until 2047, I think. So we'll see what happened with the situation around it. Next slide, please. So here, just some numbers for how the whole supply chain network in China, with the manufacturing side, it can be done in China a little bit cheaper and very quick. Just a little bit of comparison, very low cost and very quick prototype, and you can scale up very quickly. So basically in Hong Kong, we also offer, if you want to try the prototyping for smaller scale, you can actually do it in Hong Kong for almost the same price as in Shenzhen. You go to Shenzhen when you need to mass scale, as a scaling up much bigger. And in the last part being going global, the world's largest container, the output through, it's definitely biggest from the Greater Bay Area, as you can see in the photo. Next, please. So a little bit of the startup ecosystem here in Hong Kong. Hong Kong like to show numbers, but for the number of startups you see under self-employed and origins of founder. I mean, Hong Kong is very proud of this, but when I talk to the Hong Kong people and Hong Kong government, I will say like, okay, you have 3,184 startups in 2019. The reason they think that they want to work with the Nordic countries is like in Sweden, only in Stockholm, like one city in the Nordics, we have like maybe around 8,000 startups and employ 55,000 people, just to put in a relation with when Hong Kong wants to show the number. But of course, if you compare with the financial sector, then it's something else. So Hong Kong Science Park and Cyberport is the Hong Kong House biggest partner here, and also coming up with other family offices who is also offering a lot of good programs for the Hong Kong House. Next slide, please. Here shows just some part of my partners here, depend on what sector and verticals we're working on. Next, please. So for the Science Park, for the startups, basically Science Park and Cyberport, the two biggest partners in Hong Kong, they have all programs, everything from incubation phase all the way up to acceleration, SMEs and pre-IPO programs for those who really want to get into the GBA market and then the rest of China. I think the 2021 rollout will be, they're gonna copy part of Southeast Asia too. So a little bit into Samis territorium, we'll see. So next, please. The anchor events or activities that I will highlight for this session will be with the three ones all happening in November 2021, and will be rolled out one by one during end of March, beginning of April and May. So let's start with the Hong Kong FinTech Week. Next, please. So the my ambition has always been to plan a proper Nordic innovation, a Nordic FinTech innovation pavilion, like physically meeting in here in Hong Kong. But due to the pandemic, so this year, 2021, I'm going to try to plan as a physical meeting if we are allowed to travel. This is the event will take place in the beginning of November. So hopefully we can travel. If not, we will do as last year. Everything will be online. But if it's physical, the idea is a 4-day program with a cross-border to Shenzhen one day. And the Shenzhen physical crossing over to Shenzhen usually is quite full. So we tend to try to plan it like a little bit in advance. Other things that are included in the program will be the fast track program where you can, it's a pitching contest that the Hong Kong house can fast track you into. You don't need to go the normal way. So by becoming a member of the Nordic Innovation House in Hong Kong, I can fast track you quite quickly and get one of the slots and have a chance to pitch and get to the prize money of $5 million in investments. And other pitching opportunities during the FinTech week will also be the elevator pitch, where you literally get thrown out into an elevator and we have 1 minute before you hit 100th floor and you're going to pitch for inside elevator. And the other one, opportunity during this time is also the Cyberports CVCF, where you can meet other investors than the Hong Kong one. Some of the Southeast Asian investors is also interested to participate. Next, please. So borrowing from idea a Singapore house. So this is the FinTech Pavilion in Singapore 2019. This is what I'm trying to do in the Hong Kong side too. So with this pavilion, we will max contain 10 companies. So if it's really going to work this year with physical meeting, I hope that you will be interested to join us to be here physically. Next, please. So what is in this year? Last year, it was the vertical was blockchain and retail banking, insurtech, and so on. For 2021, I think the blockchain with RegTech will be more important. China, during the Chinese New Year now, have rolled out the full digital currency, the digital RMB. And they have tried in 4 cities, among others, Hangzhou and Shenzhen. So Shenzhen is fully digitalized. Basically, you cannot pay with cash anymore. So either you have to have Alipay or Tencent Play, or now with the new app in the phone where you just pay directly from your phone. So this is something very interesting for the fintech companies, because just imagine that we have solutions for them to get to bridge the gap between other currencies directly into China. So blockchain with regulations and the solutions, fintech solutions toward that side will be very, very interesting. Next, please. So Shenzhen, the China High Tech Fair. Every year we try to build a proper booth. And 2019 was the highlight of my house, because we managed to build a proper booth with 30 Nordic companies coming over to showcase, meet investors, and also find partners. Next, please. So this is our pavilion last year in Shenzhen, and the opening ceremony with the Embassy of Iceland, the consulate, Danish consulate, and Norwegian consulate. Next, please. So the China High Tech Fair is the #1 technology show in China. So the verticals that they are covering, it's IT, energy saving and conservation, new materials, architecture, technology, innovation. So advanced manufacturing, smart cities, smart healthcare, optoelectronic, and aerospace. I think because of Tesla's strong growth, the whole new material and new energy will be a vertical to look at for this fair. Next, please. So the last program that the Hong Kong House will roll out, it's the Gerantech GIS. This is the pure sales fair for elder care and handicapped care. Last year, because of the pandemic, no Nordic companies managed to get their product over to Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong side, we have a proper exhibition actually. So the Japanese come over with a lot of good technology and Koreans, but not much Nordic tech managed to showcase. I didn't manage to showcase many of the Nordic tech, but I was in one of the panel discussions regarding how to collaborate and where Hong Kong is compared to the Nordic countries. So the summary of this panel discussion is like we have a lot of technology that would be very suitable for the Hong Kong's elderly population, especially the service side. I was only thinking about like really products, everything from a better rollator or things that make it easier for the elder. But the concept of how to take care of an elder care, that is quite new in Hong Kong. So I think for the 2021 Gerentech, they will be interested in understanding the user behavior and a little bit of the soft skill side of our services. Next, please. So yes, and this year, the China TPO have decided that we're trying to work together. So in the near future, the Business Sweden and all the trade promotional offices in China will reach out to the Nordic companies to start collecting applications if you're interested to come for these three programs that Hong Kong is kicking off. Well, the other three slides is about the membership fee that both Sami and Nicholas have covered quite well. I just put them with a little bit more detail. Next, please. For the corporate membership, it's 6,800 euro. I put this one up this time is because if you're going to do the pavilions, it will be interesting to have a little bit bigger companies joining the program. And with this membership, they can actually bring, give away the membership fee, the basic member to one of the startups and bring them over here. So that is one of the idea I have for the Hong Kong side. And both the FinTech and the China High Tech Fair are both in Greater Bay Area. It's both in Hong Kong and Shenzhen. So for companies who's listening now, for the Nordic actors, if you're interested, please contact me after this session and let's start. With all this, I will save some time and let's all go to the Q&A. So hand it back to you, Sami or Nicholas.
All right. Thank you, Bin. Thanks for sharing the latest from Hong Kong and China.
Sami, I'm losing you. Can't hear you.
Yes, likewise.
Sami?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, good. Yeah, so sorry about that. So what I said, like we received quite a lot of questions from the audience before the webinar, so we start covering those ones first, and then we try to cover all the rest of the questions today. Cover everything today, then we will do the follow-ups via email. So maybe Nicholas and Bin, if I may, I can read here the first question.
Okay, I think Sami, we're losing you, but
yep.
If you don't mind, I can also take it over from here. So yes, as Sami mentioned, as part of the registrations, we also asked you all to give us some questions and comments. Thank you. We received quite many. And I'm just going to pick up a few of here. One of the questions was, this is great. It's a very overall question for all of us. Top 3 things to first ask as a startup when scaling for new markets in Singapore, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. So what would be some of the top 3 things that these companies should keep in mind? From the Tokyo side, I think it starts pretty much from the correct market understanding of what is happening in Japan. One of the challenges here is that a lot of the information available is in Japanese. So it's extra crucial that you have a correct understanding of what is the current market situation in Japan, which would also require looking into some of the documentation that is available, mainly only in Japanese, and the ones that we have in English can be a little bit outdated. So I would keep that in mind, as well as having a realistic time horizon when expanding to Japan and starting to interact with Japanese partners. And last, I would say really the willingness to commit to Japan as a long-term market opportunity. It's not a place for quick wins, but if you're willing to put the effort into it, then you can have lifelong partners from Japan. Thanks. Ben,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm back. Great.
Sami next.
With the Singapore about the same question. So I wasn't sure was this question actually for us or is something what you want to ask from the investors and Singapore stakeholders, but maybe I'll try to answer from Singapore point of view. And definitely second what Niklas said. So usually a lot of the questions and the conversation is around the product market fit. So what is the problem that you're trying to solve here in the new market? Is it can your same setup in the Nordics work here? What are the existing solutions, competitors here, the consumer behavior, their spending power, cultural aspects, distribution channels, and things like that. So I would say it really boils down to that product market fit. Then maybe a couple of other things I would like to highlight is, of course, well, this is really a little bit on the product market fit, but is the regulatory landscape in your vertical. Also, some verticals are quite strict, like med and health tech, fintech, perhaps comes first to my mind. And then also kind of like what are the local legal requirements in terms of the incorporations, what kind of obligations that will bring to you. Work permits in Singapore is always kind of like a hot topic in a way. But of course, then again, that depends on the market. But I would mention those three from Singapore point of view.
From the Hong Kong side, I will always say, like beginning of my presentation, Hong Kong is a big country, so you have to ask yourself why China, and do you have a strategy to take on China, and where? So if you are a fintech company, then it's Shanghai and Hong Kong you're going to start. Also know if you what do you want when you come to this event. The program we create, is that for investment? You are looking for investor, or you looking for a partner, or are you looking for manufacturing, scaling up, like mass producing, or just product fit? You just need to know a little bit about yourself. One concrete example I have right now is one of my members. He's in retail, so he hit 2 million, right, 2020 during the pandemic, and he'd say that he need to make sure he can scale up to produce more. That means that Shenzhen is a perfect fit for him, so I'm helping him in right now to Shenzhen. So yes, why China? Ask yourself, and what do you need, and then I can help you to fit in for the rest. So next question, Niklas, I see it says here, the fintech related info insight will be highly appreciated. So me and Niklas, we have a little war right now, because the Tokyo side have a declared war on Hong Kong. They are poking the Hong Kong sea management. Niklas always say that you have to know that in Japan, you have to speak Japanese. But according to the finance minister, he's actually opened up a full English speaking program for fintech talent. So they are poking the Hong Kong fintech people right now. So for you, for the fintech side, have it in mind that Tokyo actually have good programs for foreigners, correct?
Yes, thank you, Ben, for the plug. Exactly, Tokyo is putting effort into branding itself as the next financial hub in Asia, and there are new support systems in place, for example, for fintech companies. not just information available in English, but also some concrete support systems and reimbursements and counseling services that you can access to. So I would be very happy to share these links. So if there are companies interested, feel free to reach out and I can share the links with you from Tokyo Metropolitan Government. Particularly Tokyo is being quite active on this. Thanks, Ben.
Okay. And, from Singapore side, and Singapore bypassed Hong Kong as a financial hub last year.
Not really, not according to the newest figures.
But anyway, so the highlight of the Singapore FinTech scene is the Singapore FinTech Festival, which will take place usually beginning of December, end of November. They haven't announced the date for this year yet. Last year it was fully virtual. That's been gathering physically in 2019 over 60,000 attendees. So that's kind of big. Then other activities, also the FinTech scene in Singapore is quite vibrant. There's over 700 startups in Singapore working on the different FinTech solutions. We are partners with Singapore FinTech Association. Obviously, I would say that's the organization go to if you wanna engage with that community deeply. And then also fairly recently there was an establishment of Singapore Blockchain Association. So we are happy to connect you with these organizations and also then tell you more about the FinTech activities in Singapore. But those I would say are the key things to highlight at this point. Really good.
So the last comment from me regarding the FinTech in China and Hong Kong and the Greater Bay Area is they are rolling out the digital yuan in China. So for those companies who have solutions within RegTech cybersecurity, that would be interesting part to come to China. And also it was announced like 2-3 days ago that China is opening up the insurance side because the IPO didn't happen. They were supposed to bring big solutions to this insurance sector for China, but because that didn't happen now, so they are opening up for foreign players. So for the big companies, check out China's insurance, InsurTech and that side. And for the smaller ones, contact me and let's talk, see how we can help.
Okay. Niklas, do you want to take a couple of Tokyo specific questions?
Yes, and we also had a couple of questions for Tokyo since from the registration form. Maybe I can also address there. There was a question about setting up a satellite office, registering business in Japan as a foreigner. This is a rather large question. We won't be able to go into in-depth in this call, but basically there are 4 different main options in Japan, and then depending on whether you are going to be involved in commercial side or if it's just research, and also you want to take into account the credibility with working with Japanese stakeholders and also visa related issues. So these are some of the things that we can support our members with and connecting you to the service providers that will facilitate, because choosing the right entity from the beginning would be an important thing to keep in mind. And I think we have also a couple of questions from today's, take something from here. Possibilities for industrial innovation development in collaboration with the academy, both from Sweden and Japan. Thank you for the question. I would encourage you to also be in touch with the Science Counselor of Sweden to Japan. This is very much on their agenda. There is also the Mirai collaboration between Swedish universities and Japan. And actually we have been in some discussions to explore this field a little bit further. So if you have some ideas, we can discuss. The Japanese side is quite interested in the public-private partnerships that we are quite strong in the Nordics. And they are looking for case examples and best practices in how to do that. So it is an interesting topic that we can explore together, definitely. And maybe very quickly, there's also a clean tech related question in terms of plastic from waterways, shorelines, ports. This is of interest, yes, and also something that we're looking within our clean tech initiative. And there are also a couple of really interesting startups from Japan, Japanese startups who are working in this field. So perhaps if you're interested, I can send some company names or links for you to have a look at what the Japanese companies are doing in this field. I think this was an anonymous question, so feel free to just send me an email after the call so I can connect. Thank you.
Maybe I'll take the next one from which came before the webinar. That is, what are Nordic Innovation House regional strategies, initiatives in working with the stakeholders in Southeast Asia? So our plan is not to open new offices in Southeast Asia. The plan is to use Singapore as a hub and cover it from here. Of course, there's quite a lot of ground to cover. We kickstarted regional activities before the COVID, so we did something in different countries in the region, but of course now during the last year plus, it's been on hold with the travel restrictions. I would say that our key strategy within this is that we are working with different partners in the different cities. So who are the right government agencies who can help you with the incorporation of work permits, what is the investor landscape, what is the co-working landscape in the different cities, and so on. I would also like to highlight then the TPOs. They do have a presence pretty much, depends on the country, but they have a quite vast and comprehensive presence in Southeast Asia and different markets. So they do have a deeper knowledge then from these markets. And but with our programs, for example, with the WWF, we are collaborating and doing kind of like these knowledge sharing sessions with a couple of countries in Southeast Asia, helping then the program participants to understand the landscape in the waste, for example, in Vietnam and Thailand, and who are the key players there, and how that whole value chain is working there. So a little bit on a project based through partners and then through TPOs, and then again, once the travel restrictions are lifted, then more actively by ourselves.
Yes, and to Miros and Hildur, I think, please contact me. I think your question is a little bit too complex to take it on this session. So please contact me and let us have a phone call. I know that the Norwegian community is very active in the Greater Bay Area and also in Shanghai area and Beijing area. And your Amiros, your app is definitely of interest for the market here. And echoing Sami, I will say that like I said before, some of the Hong Kong was usually the gateway into China, but I can see a new trend now. A lot of Hong Kong companies also go to Southeast Asia, and in that sense, they also want to help the Nordic that's already in China to expand towards Southeast Asia. And of course, the trade promotion offices, the TPOs, they cover the whole China. We have TPOs from all 5 countries in the Shanghai, Chengdu, and Beijing area. So please reach out to us, and we'll see where we go.
Okay. Then Helen posed the question on Q&A. So roughly how many members from the business sector, SMEs, do the Nordic Innovation Houses in Asia have? Singapore has currently 44 members. Here in Singapore, covering multiple verticals, but mainly coming from those same sectors that are our key focus areas. So med and health tech, smart cities, and then sustainability, and also of course fintech, because Singapore being the one of the biggest fintech hubs. And
for the Hong Kong side, it has been a little bit turbulent here, but I just counted my member. I think I lost some, but I gained some. So right now I have 20 members here, and most of them are within fintech.
Yeah,
no surprise.
From Tokyo side, we started our membership packages last fall. We have currently 2 member companies within clean tech and VR AR. So to count all of that, I guess we are around 60 to 70 companies strong in Asia.
Niklas, do you want to take the next question also from Victor?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Do you currently have any SaaS clients from Nordic region operating in Tokyo? So clients in the sense that are member companies, we do not, but there are some SaaS examples from the Nordic regions. We have, for example, Virtusize from Sweden, or Pi Systems working in VAT, active here in Tokyo. So there are some interesting case examples. We are actually planning on doing a report on Nordic success stories from Japan around March with our good friends from Innovation Lab Asia. So that will highlight some of the success stories from Tokyo and Japan. So stay tuned, I guess. Thank you.
Wow, good time to this time, Sami.
All right. So I think we're running out of time at the moment. So there was.
Sami, we lost you again. Niklas, you wrap up, please.
Okay, I'm gonna think what was Sami thinking.
Yes, I don't know what Sami is doing, but
but we are running out of time. There was one more question regarding e-commerce in Japan that was kindly forwarded to us beforehand. It is actually a very interesting area for us that we are currently looking into also with the chambers. The Nordic Chamber of Commerce is here in Japan, and we will likely be doing some events around this topic in the very upcoming near future. So give us a follow on the SNS if you haven't already. Yeah, e-commerce is of course very big, and Rakuten and Amazon would be the largest platforms here. I'm not sure if we have Sami yet here, but I guess I will wrap it up as we are 1 minute over. So thank you all so much for joining us, for the wonderful questions. If there was any follow-up on our end, we'll do so. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to any of us. We will provide you the recording from today as well as our slides within 24 hours. So you will get all of the contact information. We are here, we are up, we are running. Even during COVID times, there are a lot of initiatives among all the 3 houses. So please do not hesitate to be in touch with us. And with that, I think I would like to wish you all a good continuation to your day. And thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.